Close Racing Supply in Eldred, Pennsylvania has been in business since 1996, serving the motorsports industry with quality parts for dirt late models, modifieds, and stock clip race cars. In stock are parts from top manufacturers like All-Star Performance, Weir's Machine, Sweet Manufacturing, Winner's Performance, Willwood Brakes, and many others. CRS is also home of CRS Race Components, providing top-quality suspension parts. Orders are shipped out daily using UPS, FedEx, and truck freight. Find out more at closeracingsupply.com.
All right, everybody, after a 2-week hiatus, I went to Florida, didn't get an episode in down there, obviously, and then I caught the plague when I got off the plane from Florida, so we're back alive, 2 weeks off. Now we're going to get into a different gear, try to do this without getting sick, hopefully. So another episode of the Burnin Hollow Sauce Company Woah Show, new sponsor for 2025, and joining me, he's now a two-timer on the show. Jesse Isidore being the first two-timer with the Bradford news, but Bud's got some cool news too. Welcome to the show again, Bud.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Always fun to do these. I enjoy them, and we were probably episode 2 or 3 originally, so it's been a little bit.
It's been a little bit, but don't act like I've been doing this consistently every week, where this is episode 60. I think it's like in the 20s, because you know how racing season gets. We hate it around July and August, and around September, we're like, I guess we'll finish it out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Everybody's burned out. I'm burned out anyways by the end of September, and by November 1st, I want to go to the racetrack again, and we got to wait 4 or 5 months. So, yeah, definitely know how it goes.
So some exciting news as we look forward to going to the racetrack again is that you're going to be following the Rush Tour, getting away from the modified deal, following the Rush Tour, doing the crate deal. How'd that come about?
Well, like a lot of people know, 3 years ago we ran the Rush Tour in 2021. I ran crate stuff for a handful of years across the 2010s and everything, kind of bounced back and forth between the crate and the modified, depending on some sponsorship stuff and money and just availability in general. I just felt kind of like it was the right time to go back late model racing. I have aspirations of running supers someday, whenever hopefully we can afford to do that. And it's a lot easier to go super racing when you have late models and late model equipment in the shop than it is to sell everything off and, not only buy cars and wheels and spares and tires, but $40,000 engines too is tough. So this is maybe year one of what I'm going to loosely call a 3 to 5 year plan to maybe be in a super if everything plays out right. So that was a big driving factor of it. I love modified racing. I grew up racing modifieds. I'll defend modifieds till the day I'm dead as far as them having fantastic racing and awesome talent. Modified racing's in a little bit of a weird place right now, though. There's maybe some changes on the horizon that I'm hearing about, some things that are scaring me some. At the end of the day, modifieds are gaining some momentum with your races. UEMS coming back has added some big races to the area, but at the end of the day, you're racing a really expensive race car for $700 or $800 to win just about every night. And we looked at the costs and everything. And if you look at everything as a total package, the modified to the crate, we're going to spend about the same amount of money. And we have the opportunity to just race for a lot more. I mean, Rush has done an incredible job building this touring series up. I mean, when I last ran it in 2021, I'm pretty sure the championship paid $5,000, and 4 years later it pays 20, and all the races pay $4,000 this year. Just from a sustainability standpoint for our race team, it really just makes a lot more sense to race a crate car, honestly. Just to be at the same tracks, doing the same things, just in a different class.
What Mike and Vicky and the entire Rush staff have done over even just the years that I've been around racing in this fashion, they have really brought it to the next level to legitimize the Rush late models and the Rush Tour and expanding, trying different tracks. And, I'm a big proponent of, all the Rush classes. I think they do a great job with all their packages. They do so much for the racers. And
absolutely.
I think that goes understated. I don't think there's enough, press on how much they do give back. I know being somebody that has sponsored on a crate, Austin Hauser being, our crate guy since day one, and seeing how well they take care of them. The track pack, points at your local track, and you can pick up a couple of those if you're,
Yeah.
you're really jamming on those, or the touring races have gone bananas in payouts. I mean, they're starting to look like almost what a super late model purse looks like right now around here for not saying like a regular special, but when people start to think about coming up and leaving in their home track for a different show, we're starting to look at payouts and good payouts through the field that are really good. And I really hope, maybe one day more classes will be able to follow suit and, maybe look at that model that they have there about how much they give back to the racers. And it's really rare to find that these days, and it's a great deal. You get to see a lot of racetracks. So speaking of that, outside of the tour schedule, where are we gonna find you?
I'll be at Raceway 7 every Friday. We're not on the tour. Erie's a lot of Sundays. Going to make a trip or two to Bradford. State line a decent little bit. We won't be there every Saturday. There's some other big races going on that I want to go to. Some tracks I really, really like that I haven't got to race at in a few years with the modified. Gingham County. I love that place. We'll drop in there once or twice. I'm going to bounce around a little bit this year. Get back to racing. I race a lot as it is, but we used to travel a lot more than we have with the modified the last few years. And I really enjoy traveling and going to new places. I'm super excited to get to race at Tri-City again. That place gave me my first big win ever, like 12, 13 years ago now. It's a special place for me. Man, we're going to bounce around. I mean, there's like a 15,000 win race all the way down in Beckley, West Virginia we'd like to go to. And then in the fall, October, November, you can throw a rock and hit a 10 or 20,000 win crate race in the Southeast. We might try to maybe piggyback a couple weekends together and go do that. We've got some pretty big plans to go racing a lot. We've got some good sponsorship, some good help. I've got a great crew. Everybody's really excited, and we're all pulling in the same direction. And, just looking forward to doing a lot of racing at a lot of places.
When it comes to the tour schedule, what kind of places that you haven't seen or you're excited to get back to again other than Tri-City?
Sure. The only track I think on the tour schedule, and I'll pull it up here real quick, that I think I haven't ever raced at is Bridgeport, which will be a new one for really everybody. That's really cool, and I'm excited for that. I have had the privilege to race at a lot of places, and I don't get to go to many new tracks anymore. So that's going to be awesome to kick our year off for a lot of money out there, somewhere new. I love Tyler County. I've raced there a lot in my modified. Didn't go last year at all. We just didn't make it down there. Excited to go back there. Haven't been to Genesee in a few years. Haven't been to Winchester in a few years. Haven't been to Lernerville since we raced the late model last either. We didn't take our modified there at all for the Stampede or anything last few years. There's some places even close like Lernerville and Bradford that we haven't been to in 4 or 5 years now, that it'll be refreshing to go somewhere different.
It'll be awesome. Hopefully, we'll be able to tag along with you for a couple of them trips. Hopefully, I know we'll see you for a couple trips on home turf, but it'll be interesting. I think the Bridgeport deal. I mean, they're starting off the season with that's the big K, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And Bridgeport is a place that I've almost gone to. There's a couple of places that I say that I've almost gone to because I've been either rained out or they've been canceled for something. That was one place I was supposed to go when I was touring around with ULMS as a photographer, but I think they had Hurricane Sandy or something like that come through and really just wipe out the entire coast. So that kind of sucks, but hopefully we'll be able to see it. Same weekend as the Chautauqua Mall show, so we'll have to balance between the two. Who knows where I'll end up? Haven't made the 100% commitment there yet, but I mean, seeing you go out on the tour is gonna make me sad because we won't be able to bug you at your trailer every weekend.
Yeah, we'll still be around a good bit locally. But really, the tour stuff, I'm going to miss, like, I think 4 races at Raceway on Fridays, and I'm only 1 or 2 at Erie's. And State Line, we'll be on the road more for Saturday stuff than we have in years past. Gonna miss being there as much as I usually am. I love the people at State Line, and a lot of big, exciting changes happening there this year. And I'm hoping that they have a fantastic year and everything goes great. And we'll definitely be there. I would say half the races is kind of the current plan. Could change. And, we're not just running the crate car either. I'll have my dad's got a modified. He's run a couple times over the past 2 years that we're working on putting together for me to run maybe 10 races or so. We got the big stuff at State Line playing there, the Sharon races. That's the biggest negative about going crate racing is I can't race at Sharon with that because that's my favorite place to race. So we'll take Dad's mod there, run Raceway's big stuff, and stay close to the house really with the modified, and maybe do some double duty stuff here and there because that's a lot of fun. Yeah, so we'll still be around. We'll still do some modified racing, maybe even make a Nelly show or two with that, depending on what goes on. But yeah, so a lot of racing. We'll be on the road, but we'll be close to home too. We're gonna mix it, get a good mix as much as we can with that.
So in the couple of years that you've been away from the Rush deal, what kind of changes have you seen with it, other than pay and the expansion of the class? I mean, they're going to upstate New York, and Muskegum started running them too. That's super cool. And that's another track that I've almost gone to and gotten rained out before I even got to the gates. But what kind of changes do you see, between the last time you ran one and now?
Rules wise and stuff, there's really not a whole lot of changes, which is refreshing, honestly, to have a class and a sanction that has a ton of stability in their rule book. That's nice to see. I mean, there's some body changes and a few little things that have changed since 2021, but really it's mostly the same there, which as racers, that's what we ask for. Rule changes generally short-term cost you money and long-term might save you money. So glad to see that from them. Like you said, the expansion into some more Ohio stuff. I mean, I'm on the westernmost border of the Rush footprint, being 5 minutes from Raceway 7. So there's nothing further west of me and really, nothing straight south. We've got to go into New York and Pennsylvania to run. So to be able to go to Muskingum, which is closer to me than a place like Genesee is, that's nice. Ohio Valley, adding the class for a few races and a tour show. That's a cool joint that I've never raced at. I've actually been there to watch a couple times. Just seeing some expansion that direction. For whatever reason, Ohio has kind of been void of crate racing forever. And it'd be cool to see. There's some really neat places. We were talking off camera about Wayne County and how much you and I both love that place. I would love to be able to run there with a crate car. So they're nibbling into Ohio, which is really cool. It'll save me some driving if there's some more Ohio racetracks, that's for sure.
Speaking of, Expo looking to maybe potentially come back was always a Rush late model stop there for a little while. I watched some videos, watching Jim Valentine post about that. That could always be a possibility. Two, for adding, there are a lot of rumbles there. And, I'm not really from that area, but the way they talk about that track, it seems super beloved. Thing looks like it's 700 cars wide too. I have no idea how you get around a place like that wide open, probably, but
yeah, I've raced at Expo probably 3 or 4 times before. Rush races, fast track before Rush was a thing. We had races there. I've raced a modified there once or twice. Yeah, it's huge. The corners feel like they're forever. The racing one time a year there thing gives them some challenges with the surface. Probably 2 or 3 of the times that I've been there, the racetrack's been really good and it's raced honestly really well. The biggest challenge there is no lights, and where the sun sets is less than ideal for racers because you're staring right into the sun going down the backstretch come feature time. But if they can add somehow some temporary lighting or something to maybe be able to race into the dusk a little bit, I think that would help that place a ton. It's historically a juggernaut over here. I mean, at Raceway 7, Expo, and Sharon, my uncles raced there, my grandpa raced there. Just a ton of history for my family at Expo. It would be really cool to be a part of that if it comes back. I had a few friends that were at the informational meeting they had. I couldn't make it myself, but some positive things and some positive news from that, and it would be really cool to see it come back. The crowd's always good with the fair. It's a pretty unique atmosphere to get to race in, being in the pits and seeing Ferris wheels and roller coasters and stuff is pretty cool. They get to do that in the Midwest a lot, but we don't see that around here a ton. would be awesome to see Expo get a show back or do something with that racetrack, because there's a lot of history. It's a shame to see it sit.
It's a rare opportunity to see a racetrack come back to life with such history. And honestly, shout out to Jim Valentine, because he's been kind of schooled. I think he's half trying to hype everybody up to get everybody like rah to, let's all get together and make this happen, which is true. He makes me want to run through a brick wall just to watch that track open, because he's like, look at everybody that's raced here. It's all this. I'm like, let's go, dude. And I think, in the other half, I think knowing why it's so important and why so many people want it back is super important too. It's kind of like the McKean deal. When they're on again, off again relationship the last couple years of running, and why it's so important to a lot of people to come in, learning those backgrounds, because I came in. I had a long gap away from racing, so all this history is kind of like new to me, and why some of these places are so historic, and I'm trying to school myself up. But fair races are cool. I wish we could do that more. Maybe we can get State Line just to put a Ferris wheel over just one of the corners. We'll make it work. Maybe in the infield, I could take photos from it. That'd be pretty sick.
Hey, if anything, Bill is showing that if he thinks it'll work, he's trying it, and I commend that. So, twist his arm, build a Ferris wheel on top of the bathrooms in 3 and 4.
Could you imagine? I mean, that would make for such good photos. Now we're getting into the weeds here, but when I went to the Rolex 24, everybody talks about the Ferris wheel in the what? I'm not an asphalt guy. The thing in the middle portion, and like it's super cool to watch and then take photos of it and whatever. Super cool. I love the uniqueness. It's Port Royal's another one that has, they're notorious for the Ferris wheel in the background during the Tusky 50 and stuff. And man, I do. I love me some unique stuff like that. So, Wayne County being another one you touched on, man, that'd be so cool. And, if I had infinite funds, that would be where I'd sponsor another race if we could get it out there. But,
and I don't think I've ever, sorry, I was just going to say, I don't think I've ever raced at Wayne County and it not been incredible. I've probably raced there 10 times in my life, and every time we go, we're throwing sliders, we're beating the fence down, we're hitting infield tires, we're racing all over the thing. I mean, there's just an infinite number of ways to get around that place, and that's really all a race car driver asks for. It's like Sharon, really. I mean, very rarely does Sharon get one lane. It gets super slick, but you can beat the wall down, you can run around the bottom. Those two places are generally always racy, and that's why I love them so much.
Wayne County looks fun whether you're in first or 24th. I've watched, I've only been there twice as a photographer, and man, each time I kind of forget what I'm doing a little bit, because it's such a great place, and it's so unique. It's there's nothing like it. The only thing I can say that races not like it, but as exciting as going to Tyler County and watch them race all over that place too, which hopefully we'll get back to, with a camera, one of these years. But so we've been doing this thing at the end. I've been saying this like this is a new thing, but it's not such a new thing anymore. But it's new since the last time you were on, where we asked 5 questions, the fast 5 questions. And you can give a long-winded story, you can give a short-winded story. Sometimes this segment goes longer than the actual podcast, but that happened before it. But we're going to dive right in. Who's your favorite race car driver? All time.
Favorite race car driver all time, man. If I had to pick one guy that, when I was a kid growing up and idolizing, who I guess maybe not my favorite, but has had the most impression on me as a driver, is Shannon Babb. Dude, I grew up watching every Shannon Babb race. I was a Summer Nationals nut. I still am. I wish it was like it used to be, where everybody had to run that whole hell tour. But, I mean, Babb was the man on that deal when I started watching it as I was probably 9-10 years old. So Shannon Babb is probably my all-time favorite. I've got a lot of respect for countless other guys. Locally, like anybody with the last name Watson. I mean, my dad, my cousins, my uncles, always rooting for the family and got a special place for that. But all time, definitely Shannon Babb. We might get a little vacuum in the background. I'm sorry, my cleaning lady at the shop just showed up.
Good thing we have good editing software.
Yeah.
You know what? We already covered this one already, but I gotta ask it anyways because it's part of the format. Favorite racetrack of all time.
Favorite racetrack of all time has gotta be Sharon. I mean, like, it's just so good. I've won races blowing the deck out of it there, and I've won races right around the bottom. And I love Sharon because I can finish 15th and still have fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can have a bad night, but if you're passing and you're running around and driving around people and side by side, I mean, it's always good. Wayne County's up there, like we've been talking about. I love that place. A surprise one that I love that I haven't been to in years is Wytheville, Virginia. It's huge. It's high banked. It's super technical. A lot of fun to race on. Would love to get back there, and they have some big crate stuff, so hopefully we can do that. But yeah, Sharon's definitely number one, and really lucky it's 45 minutes down the road.
What is your favorite moment in racing that you've either witnessed or were a part of?
My favorite moment would probably be, and it's nothing that I raced. In 2019, I went to the PDC for the first time at Fairbury, and I got to watch the feature from the infield. And that was when Pierce and Shepard were absolutely going at it for like the last 20 laps. And in the last corner, Sheppy kind of packed a dirty slider into Bobby coming out of 4 to win the race, and I was standing right there in turn 4 and watched it, and to just feel the electricity and hear the people over the race cars in the infield was like an out-of-body experience. It was really cool. It was a ton of fun to be a part of, and a moment I'll never forget.
I'll tell you, those moments, and it's very far and few between that I get those, because and I'm not saying like the crowds are different, but I feel like there's a lot of people in our area. Maybe we have just experienced so much good racing that we don't get those crowds. It has to be a really special, oh my god, that was like the most banger race ever. And I'll go back, and it's still to me the craziest thing, and I've only heard it a couple times, when Wyatt started ripping the top at Freedom, which is like a once in a blue moon thing that actually works out. I've only seen it done by 2 people and never in a modified up to this point. And Wyatt went to the top. He closed like a...
Hi everybody, Woah from the future here to do glorious ad reads for our lovely 2025 sponsors. And I'm sure this list will grow, however it is early, and we want to make sure we sponsor those who have hopped on early. Close Racing Supply has been a partner of ours since the very beginning. We've been doing the whole, Woah sponsorship program. It's getting close to race season, guys. Make sure you visit Close Racing Supply for, the leading products in the industry and their own. Close Racing Supply does it all. I always say, if they don't do it, you don't need it. So make sure you go visit our friends at Close Racing Supply. You don't even have to go in person. They ship nationwide, and it's always kind of crazy to me that we see these guys all over the place on different race cars. We travel a lot for the photo deal, and it's always just real amazing how far those products go. So make sure you are getting to Close Racing Supply today. Your podcast presenting sponsor is a new sponsor for us in 2025. Burnin Hollow Sauce Company's out of Buffalo, where they mix flavor and heat. It's a great balance. They are good buddies, or Brian is a good buddy of mine who runs that deal. You can order online at Burnin Hollow, no G, burninhollow.com. They are our presenting sponsor for qualifying the Burnin Hollow Hot Sauce Scorcher Award. Whoever does the quick time of the night will be given a nice award from Burnin Hollow. I wasn't a hot sauce guy when it came down to it, but I tried this stuff this past year, and I was like, man, we got to promote this stuff. It is some of the best sauce you can get. I believe there's a wide variety of heat tolerances that we can that you can choose from. I really like the I really like the milder side. As I said, I'm not a very spice guy. However, I'm a very big fan of the Blood of Heroes and Sting of the Ancients. That's their medium and hot. They also have, and they all come with all these cool names. Their mild sauce is Awaken the Dead. The Deep Inferno is their super hot, and their extra hot is Arkham Madness. So, make sure you visit those guys today. I could ramble all day about how great they are and how good. I put that stuff on everything. Man, I was putting it on pizza bagels the other day, just to show you, that it's a very wide variety of uses for the sauce. And also, they made this shirt. They made this hat that I'm wearing, the Caden Bush 3B hat. Good friends of ours. Back again for 2025. Back again as a Woah Nelly modified sponsor, podcast sponsor, driver of the week. Just like we said for Close Racing Supply, if they don't do it, you don't need it, man. They got, when they drop their energy drinks, I'm telling you, one of the best energy drinks that you can get. From their hats, their t-shirts, their wraps, the quality. And I know we had them on the show very early on for the Woah show. The quality and the creativity between all these designs is amazing. These shirts hold up super well. I beat the ever-living shit out of my stuff. And I mean, dirt tracks ain't too friendly to most of your guys' clothes. So make sure you stop in, see what Carpy can do to you or do for you, and tell them that we sent you. They love that stuff, So, man, let's get back to the show.
It was a massive gap to Mike McGee. He just hunted him down, passed him, and they came across the line. Mike McGee was like sideways. Oh, he was like, I could see his eyeballs. He just was laying right on the gas, and like you could see people. Usually I can't see people in the stands because usually all the lights on the racetrack, and you're seeing people just go crazy. I'm like, we've peaked, boys. We have seen the best one yet, and then he made another thriller at McKean, but I was in the stands for that one, so I heard everybody going.
Yeah, I mean, that's like at the racetrack. Like, you're at a ton of races. I race 40 to 50 times a year. Like, we see a lot, right? Like, I get amped up for a big race or a good race or a good show, but like those atmosphere moments are what stand out to me. Eldora, like before the first heat race on Saturday of the World, like if nobody's ever felt that, I don't know, have you been to the World?
I did the 50th and 51st when they did the back-to-back one in 21.
Dude, it's the most electric feeling you can feel. Like, every race fan has got to go experience that. Like, it's incredible.
It's extra magic because we did, you do the introductions and stuff, and you're like right there. And man, and you know what? We're getting off topic here. I love storytelling though. My favorite Scott Bloomquist moment in person ever was, I forget which one. He made both races, but I think it might have been the first one where Scott wasn't like when they walk him across the stage with the Eldora girls and all that. And Jonathan Joyner is like sitting there with the Eldora girls getting ready to get announced, and they're like, however many dream wins Scott's had, and they're listing all of his accomplishments, and Joyner's like, that's not me. And fucking Scott comes running onto the stage, dude, and everybody's booing him like crazy. Man, what a special moment that was. That's because I feel like everybody has who has seen a Scott Bloomquist race has a story that's like
absolutely
that crazy. And yep. I'm like, that's my favorite one.
Yep. Yeah. One of a kind dude right there. Wish he was still around.
And you know what? I get this. I feel like I ask this to a lot of people that are just racing families. And they always say the same thing, but what made you a fan of racing? Like, what moment were you at a racetrack or watching a race and you were like, that's it, I gotta do this?
Well, I mean, like, the canned generational family answer is I didn't have a choice.
Yep.
But seriously, like, just growing up in the stands at Raceway 7, I was so lucky to be a kid through the late 80s and early 2000s at Raceway when there was 40 late models a night, They paid $2,000 a win back then. I mean, you had 2B mains every Friday night, bangers of races every night. Like, I mean, the best late models within 3 or 4 hours were there on a Friday night. And I got to grow up and watch so many good guys and so many good races. Like, there was no way I couldn't do it with how much stuff I got to witness and be a part of. With my dad's racing, you know, he was running modifieds and he ran supers a little bit during that time. And just, I feel like I was really lucky to kind of come up in racing, not only in a racing family, but also in a time where it was more important. Like, looking back 20 years ago, that was one of the most significant parts of Raceway 7's history. And, you know, I got to live through it and be a part of it and kind of, you know, learn to love the sport my own way. I mean, everybody who's in a racing family is born into it and loves it, but you have to find your own reasons to want to do it and be a part of it. And that was it for me, man. Raceway 7 was the place to be on Fridays from 97 to 2004. And I was there every single Friday. I wouldn't miss any of it for anything. You know, that's what really grew my love for it. That was already kind of wired into me, but that definitely did it for me.
So you might not ever hear me publicly, maybe on a podcast, say my very favorite racetrack is, or this is the one, because I have a lot of favorites and there's a lot. You almost have to catch me in the right mood. You know, I have my home tracks, which are like, I'm a diehard, will be there. You know, I want to, you know, spread my ashes at my home track kind of deal. You know, a lifer in that aspect. But there is something that every time I go to Raceway 7 to do photos, you see a lot of photographers, they're in 3 and 4. It is a haul down to 1 and 2. But there is nothing like, it doesn't even matter if it's a weekly show, World of Outlaws, it don't matter. Turn 1, when everybody's barreling in on the initial start or any restart, it gets me so hyped. I don't know what it is, because you guys come in there flying at like Mach Jesus, you know? And I've seen a lot of crazy stuff happen in 1 and 2, right? I think it was last year, 2 years ago, when I saw that there was the Economod parking lot that
That one
one
you just
guy
made
went
the video
plus
out of?
13 or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, man, Raceway is just so unique, and it's changed a ton. Like, growing up there and being a part of it, like, I've seen, like, really, when I first can remember going there was right when they put a backstretch wall in. I mean, there used to not be a backstretch wall, and it was just a huge mound of dirt, and you could see the cornfield off the back and everything else. And, you know, it was a way different view and different atmosphere to the place. It had banking to the moon when I was a kid. And as the race cars have changed, they've had to change some of that stuff to help the racing. And, you know, right now we're in a period where the racing's not so good there, and they're trying and working on some stuff to make it better. Man, like, it doesn't matter to me, though. For me, like, the first Friday in May is my Christmas morning. You know, there's probably 1,000 people at the track on opening night, and it's not a big deal. It's not a big show. It's nothing. But, like, for me, man, that whole week leading up to opening night at Raceway 7, we've usually already have 8 or 10 races in by then. But, like, I look forward to it more than anything, man. It's home for me. Like you said, you know, you've got your home tracks, and same for me. I mean, Raceway and Sharon are my home tracks, and they feel like home to me. And just something about turning into making that long drive back to the pit area on Fridays is gets me up and gets me going.
It is awesome. I really enjoy it. It's slowly become, you know, my Ohio home, if you will. It seems like now, you know, kind of my weekends are going to be structured where I'm going to be in 3 states every weekend, because Raceway 7's a little bit closer of a drive than coming out to McKean. You know, I feel like we have a little more, not say that we have a lot more friends at Raceway 7, but, you know, I felt like we ignored them too much this last year to not come more. I feel like coming 3 or 4 times a year was, it's not enough. When I lived in Olean out near, you know, doing the McKean deal, it was 20 minutes from my house, but now it's It's not even equidistant. But we got one more question before we keep rambling on here. What is one thing you would bring back in racing, whether it be, a racetrack, something on the race cars, a class? It can be anything.
This is one you've probably never got, and something they used to do a ton back in the day is heat race payouts, honestly, which might be an odd answer, but a lot of racers that are listening to this would probably agree with the current structure locally for a heat race. We're pretty much draw, redraw around here for every class all the time. And let's just say we're racing somewhere where third gets me in the redraw. If I pull a bad pill and I get to third and I know I'm in the redraw, I'm not saying I give up, but I take a lot less chances because if I wear my stuff out trying to go from third to second or first in a heat race, it seems like more times than not, if I make that pass, let's say for second to win on the last lap in a heat race, the guy that I pass starts on the front row and I start seventh. So I just think that would encourage guys to race harder in heat races. Not many guys are going to admit what I just did. Everybody's going to say, every time I'm on the track, I'm racing for the win no matter what. But no, for me, the feature matters a lot more than the heat race. I'm fortunate. I've won a lot of heat races and stuff. And to me, that doesn't matter anymore. As long as I'm in the redraw in a heat race, I'm going to be content and not take any risks or chances that are going to knock me out of that redraw. Whereas I think if you put up $100 bill to win a heat race, I think if I'm running second and I'm 2 car lengths back and I know I can make back all the fuel money I just burned in this heat race, I'm probably going to go try to get it, and I think a lot of guys would do that. Even if we had an idea to sponsor a heat race of the night or a class of the night for heat races a few years back at a local track. And, we were going to pay $100 to win every heat race, or I think we're going to pay 50 to win and 30 for second or something. Just something to give guys at least their pit pass money back for running good in a heat race. I mean, and Nelly, you know this. You watch every race of the night when you're there. There's a lot of guys who have won or can run up front heat races, but they just haven't figured it out come feature time yet. And, if you got a guy who wins his first heat race ever and gets $100 bill in his pocket, and let's say he still only runs 6th or 7th in the feature, that $100 made a big difference for him. And it juices the guy up even more to want to come back next week and try to do it again. So we're looking for ways to put more money in racers' pockets. And I think that would be a somewhat cost-effective way for tracks to do it without having to add, $5,000 to their nightly purse across every class. So yeah, if I'm bringing something back, it's going to be heat race pay, even if it's just for the winner, just something to help the racers out.
It's not just going to help the racers out. It's going to put on a show for the fans.
Absolutely.
And if we don't have fans, we ain't got nothing, right? We ain't got racing if we don't got guys coming in the front gate. And you want to know what? Making the heat races entertaining, because I've seen some good heat racing. That is definitely that we're gonna put that in the pocket of ideas that the Woah Nelly. We did that. We actually did heat race winners. You know what? No, I've already done this once, but we did it for go-karts, and all the go-kart people were thrilled. I mean, I think they split the field in half and ran double heats. So they did. I don't know how they do it. Go-karts confuse the shit out of me. I don't, dude, we go to places, 2 heats, 1 heats, 3 features, 1 feature, hot laps, no hot laps. I don't know, qualifying, we don't have transponders, we got an hourglass. I don't know, man. And mind you, we have done photography for go-karts forever. It's just something in my brain. Some places just do something different, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. Someone help me out. I don't even know how you score 2 heat races and make a feature lineup.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing too. Not exactly an answer for your question, is something to bring back, but something cool to do. And State Line's got this luxury with the kart track on the property is we need to work more. Like, we need kids, right? We always need kids into the sport and young people into the sport. And there's so many young people at the kart track at State Line, and finding some unique ways to bridge those kids to the big track and the big track to the kids. I'm sure a lot of them are at the big track watching and everything else, but something to get the big track stars and racers to maybe be a little more impressionable on the kids. And it doesn't even have to be a track that's right there. I mean, you could, Raceway 7 could pair up with, there's really not a close kart track anymore, but something to just bridge a gap for kids that obviously already have an interest in racing and get them more involved at the next level. I mean, I went from karts to cars, and we've got a lot of racers right now that have gone from karts to cars, and young people. I mean, I know there's Ariana and, a bunch of racers that started as karts and then Benny, yeah. And I know there's plenty of kids coming up. I mean, we're wrapping some karts for some racing family kids that are on their way up, and I just think bridging the big track, the racers, the faces, the successful guys that all these kids are rooting for, and getting them involved at the kart track. Dave Hess's kids race at State Line and he's there all the time. Like, imagine that is a huge influence on a lot of those kids that can just walk up and see Dave, like, who, on Saturday night, they think he's a superstar and he's just there hanging out with his family and his kids and doing his thing. And those kids see that and it leaves an impression, and we need more of that, more than just at State Line. Has that kart track there, and I would love to see somebody bring their kart track back. Raceway 7 has a kart track in the infield that has never been used. As far as I know, when I was a kid, I was probably the only person who's ever turned laps there in a go-kart. And when I was like 8 years old was right after they put that there, and my dad took me over there to practice before I even started racing. And other than that, I don't know anybody who's ever used that track. So we've got some youth momentum. There's a lot of youth in the Econo mods and the Pro mods and the 602 Rush Sportsman mods and everything else. We need to keep this momentum. The guys who were kids with me, we're all in our 30s now. I started racing a big car when I was 17, and 10 years, Ben Easler's not going to be a kid in a car anymore. We need that next group of Bens and Arianas, and it was me and Chad Wright and guys like us before those guys. We need to make sure we keep turning that over and doing a good job of facilitating that somehow, some way. We need to get another kart track or two going, I think, and that'll really help drive that.
I feel like we're super spoiled. I know that Ohio feels like, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, there is not a lot of racetracks, whether it be karts or the big track. It seems like you guys have a handful, and then I hear you talk about how we need more racetracks, and I'm over here, and I'm like, on Saturday nights, I can watch 5 different go-kart tracks, 6 different big tracks, all within 2.5 hours of me, and somehow, economically, it all works. They're all packed somehow. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, the kart side over here is pretty dead as far as, like, I've got a son, he just turned 9. He's not chomping at the bit to go racing, not super crazy about getting into a kart yet, but, like, I've done the research and looked into it. And for me, about 40 minutes west of here, there's a pavement road course, Coonley Motorsports Park. That's the closest place I can take him to run. State Line and Pittsfield would be the next 2 closest, which are an hour and 20, hour and 30 minutes from here. We grew up racing in Albion. It was literally called Kart Track in Albion, about 10 minutes, 15 minutes from Raceway 7. Hess raced there, a ton of young kids, or, a ton of racers my age, 30s and 40s guys, raced at Kart Track in Albion. And it closed 10, 12, 14 years ago now. And there's kind of a void for kart racing out this way. Big track wise, right here in Northeast Ohio, there's not as much. I mean, Ohio. Raceway 7 and Sharon are obviously right here, but I mean, Wayne County's another, from here it's an hour and 45 minutes. So like Wayne County and State Line are about the same drive for me. But once you kind of get in the meat of Ohio, you've got a ton of racetracks. But I mean, for us, the closest tracks besides Raceway and Sharon are, Erie's and Mercer and Tri-City, which are Pennsylvania tracks. So it all works. And I don't necessarily think we need any more big car tracks. I think around here, we probably have about the right number right now. Maybe even 1 or 2 too many. But some places are going specials. Some places are racing less, racing different classes. So that's a good thing. But from a go-kart perspective, at least over this way, there needs to be more. There's just, like, for me, racing the big car, unless I went and raced with my kids at State Line on Saturday and then stayed there to run my car, there's nowhere convenient for me to take them. And there's a lot of families over here that are like that, and a lot of them drive to State Line, but Erie's having a track or Raceway 7 having a track or somebody building a track over here would be I just think help grow it on this end of the region. This western part of our region is a little light on that.
It would take a lot of work to get one going. I mean, I know you said Raceway 7 has that infield. I never knew what that thing was for. And I was like, this has to be a go-kart track, right? Or something. I was like, maybe they had
Yeah,
an infield road course. I don't know.
they put that in. I was a kid. I want to say it was probably 2004 in that window somewhere. And if I remember right back then, the reason it never got raced was because the way the infield wall is down the front stretch, the insurance wouldn't let them run it because of the way the posts are in the ground there. And if a cart caught one of those posts, it'd be pretty bad. And Ron Nielsen, who owned the place at the time, thoughts first, his family, he just passed away and was an absolute icon around here. Ron didn't want to make the change, I believe, there to make the kart track work, so it never got used. But if I remember right from stories my dad and some people have told me, that the intention was there to build a kart track, and the insurance is kind of what shut it down, and it's literally never done anything since. Like I said, there's probably other people who've run on it, but as far as I know, me and one other kid that was with me that day are the only two I know of that have ever actually made laps around that thing.
Well, I really enjoy watching these. And, we've only been involved with the kart track at State Line doing their photos for a year. But knowing, the youth movement that's coming in our sport right now in our area is super exciting to me. We have a couple younger people that we are on their cars. We try to promote the guys that a lot of people don't hear about too often, and especially the young kids that everybody should know. Hey, these guys are coming. And a lot of these young kids, it didn't take long for Ben Easler to win a feature.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these young kids that are making their way to the front. Logan Lockhart's another one that just absolutely impresses me. In a sportsman, he runs sprint cars, he runs go-karts, anything with
He's getting in a
wheels
late
on
model this year too, I saw.
Oh, you got competition, bud.
Yeah. Hey man, listen, I love it. I was, like I said a little bit ago, I was that kid. I ran my first year in a crate car was 2009, and I'd have been 15 going on 16. And, I was, at the time, there was like no young guys. Like I was it. Chad Wright too, who's a friend of mine, he started a year or two after I did in the big cars, but it was kind of unheard of at the time for 15, 16-year-old kids around here, at least, to be racing. And now, like, I see these guys coming up. I mean, Brock won in the championship last year. Logan is a stud coming up through. Benny, I love me some Benny. He's a good kid, and I like messing with him and watching him grow and race. We need that. Young people being good and being at the racetrack make racing cool for the kids, that are in the stands. Or like in my high school, there was like 3 of us who went to Raceway 7 and knew anything about it and did anything. And like, it was, to wear a racing t-shirt to school was weird, right? The more kids we have involved and going to high schools and talking about it with their friends and getting their friends to the track, that's really important. And, having young guys racing who, most of these young dudes or girls, I mean, Ariana, Emily Stoyer, these younger girls who are coming up through too, Caden in the go-kart, that Nolan Groves, all these younger guys, like, they're better than half the people they're racing against that have been racing for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So like, if not more. So, the old adage of, people complaining they're too young to be in a car or whatever, like they're proving these guys wrong all the time by winning races and running up front and being competitive. So let them race, let them, if you want to move them up. I did it. I was just fine. Made an old guy mad once or twice here and there coming up as a kid, but like, it's just part. You can make a guy your age mad just as easy. It's not a big deal. I'm all for the kids being a part of it and coming up through.
So, Ben, I said off camera that, and I know he's watching because he loves this. I told Bud I'd give him $100 every time he doored you, so at any tour race. So
that's right, Benny. We're gonna knock the tin right off the side of that thing.
But all right, before we get going here, I got some iRacing to tend to here. Thank all your sponsors and everybody that makes us happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously our business is here, Great Lakes Speed Shop, B&A Signs. We are helping as many local racers as we can. We're not, railing people on wrap prices and trying to take care of them there. And the speed shop side, we're hanging bodies and setting cars up and trying to help guys get better. I've got customers who are fast and win races every week, and I've got guys that have never won before and never really even had success, and those are the guys I focus on and want to help. The more guys in the back that we can make better, the better races we have, the more race cars we have, the better it can all be. Little shameless plug for my stuff there. On board for this year, I've got Etzel's Automotive as a new sponsor in Waterford. Super excited to have the Etzel family as part of my car. They're great friends of ours. Holbrook Sewer and Excavating. Jeremy's a good friend and helps me out in all kinds of ways. Bozar Excavating is back this year. They've been on my car the last couple years, and long-standing, big-time partner of mine, Evergreen Lake Park family campground here. If you're coming to Raceway 7, it's right off the highway, 5 minutes from the track. Beautiful place, tons of stuff to do. They've sponsored me since I was in high school. They're a great family and big part of what we do here. Stack Products, Spencer's Farm, FK Rod Ends, KRC Power Steering, Joyous Seating, ML Performance, Fast Break Cafe, Chief's Garage, Redwood Tea Company is somebody that we're working on. Check it out, the redwoodsmokedtea.com. It's a good friend of mine who is making a really cool product, really unique. It is a smoked tea that is delicious, and we're working on doing some unique stuff for them to help them grow their business and get in front of some racing people. My crew, my dad, Chief, AJ, Justin, Matt, everybody who's a part of what we do, my wife and kids for being a part of this crazy stuff. Takes everybody to make it go. I appreciate them all, and if you can use anything from any of them, please let them know we sent you. If you need car wrap, you need a sign made, you need a street vehicle wrap, give me a call. We'd love to take care of you on that. And we'll see everybody at the racetrack. Looking forward to getting after it, and me and Nelly making some videos and some content here, and we'll see where it goes.
It's gonna be fun. I know I posted on the private, but I took on a couple clients for social media marketing this year. Bud is gonna be one of them. He kind of told me he was gonna be one of them. He didn't give me a choice. He's like, here's all my ideas, so you go make it happen.
You go make it happen, and we'll figure out the rest as we go. No, that's something we talk. Social media is huge today. I've always tried to be good at it, but I never really have been good at it. You and me bounce ideas off each other all the time, and I'm looking forward to that being something that we can grow and do some video stuff and get me out of my comfort zone on some of that a little bit and just see where it goes. And hopefully it helps you honestly get some people and some eyeballs and some following and some clients too. I mean, money makes the world go around.
We got too many people. It's all jokes. Honestly, it's been good. That side of the house has been pretty busy, especially with 2 racetracks, doing Bradford and State Line Speedway. We're doing a lot of cool stuff. Can't wait to help some racers. I'm just ready to go. I know I went to Volusia and Ocala and Daytona, but I'm ready for up here to start. It's going to be good. Can't wait. Wait to follow you all around, and hopefully it goes well. But all right, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode.
In the heat of the game,
Every drop counts.
introducing Victory Fuel flavored electrolyte water, the ultimate hydration companion.
Silly Bowl champion Logan Seavey. ASCS national champion Seth Bergman.
Packed with essential electrolytes and bursting with delicious flavor. Victory Fuel keeps you hydrated and fueled to perform at your best. Nothing tastes better than Victory.